Chapter 668. Little girl, your skills are not bad. Instructor Chu rubbed his chest that was hurting from the collision. His face revealed a kind of excited expression. The corners of his mouth curled up into a smile, causing his usually ice-cold face to reveal the demonic charm of a mature man. All the female students present felt their heartbeats quicken. Yiqing Luo withdrew her hand. Her face did not reveal any expression, but just smiled lightly. Instructor Chu was distracted, so I succeeded. Good. Again. Instructor Chu's voice just fell and he rushed towards Yiqing Luo. This time, Instructor Chu's attack was obviously much fiercer and more ruthless. His eyes were no longer probing and exploring, but a kind of excitement that had not floated for a long time, and the kind of excitement of wanting to fight to the death. Yiqing Luo naturally felt it. In the battle between the two, Instructor Chu's attacks became faster and more ruthless. Yiqing Luo felt that it was difficult at the beginning of Instructor Chu's transformation. She gritted her teeth and quickly made adjustments, and with the fastest speed, she adjusted her state and countered Instructor Chu's attack one by one. I must be dreaming. I can't believe what I see. How could Yiqing Luo and Instructor Chu exchange so many moves? And look at Instructor Chu's expression, his eyes. Instructor Chu is obviously serious. But he is serious. Yiqing Luo can still fight to a draw with Instructor Chu. The surrounding students were amazed. At this time, how could these students not see it? The instructor had only used 1/10 of his strength when he fought against hundreds of freshmen. Now the instructor's eyes were sharp, his expression was dignified, and his face was solemn. The stronger students had already seen that although the instructor's battle with Yiqing Luo was not as long as his battle with Qi Yijing, but in a flash, the two had exchanged several moves. At this time, back and forth, they had exchanged hundreds of moves. Instructor Ho narrowed his eyes, carefully sizing up Yiqing Luo's every move. His eyes were full of satisfaction. This freshman was really powerful. No wonder she dared to ask him to fight with Instructor Chu together. She was indeed a freshman with strength and ample combat experience. He and Old Chu had been partners for many years. He knew better than anyone about the changes in Old Chu. This new student aroused Old Chu's fighting spirit. Old Chu's ruthlessness surprised him, but he did not go forward to stop it. Actually, in his heart, he also wanted to properly explore just how great this new student's potential was. What made Instructor Ho shocked and gratified was, Old Chu became increasingly ferocious. After being at a disadvantage for 10 moves, the freshman quickly adjusted his fighting style and counterattacked. It was like a spring. When encountering the weak, one would be weak. When encountering the strong, one would be strong. The more pressure Old Chu gave her, the faster Yiqing Luo's ability and hands improved. Simply, he was a freak. Instructor Ho's eyes flashed. Just as Instructor Chu and Yiqing Luo separated from each other again, his footsteps moved slightly and he was already behind Yiqing Luo, launching an attack. Instructor He, the students sucked in a breath of cold air. They did not expect Instructor He to join the battle at a time like this. Could it be that he was really planning to fight 1 against 2? Although this was Yiqing Luo's own request, but seeing that Yiqing Luo had a chance to win, Instructor He joined the battle. It was really unfair to Yiqing Luo. Instructor Ho's sudden participation and Yiqing Luo was still fighting against Instructor Chu. How could she react? Chapter 669. Yiqing Luo had just regained her footing when she felt a chill on her back. Her ears were filled with the students' panicked cries. Instructor Ho. Yiqing Luo knew that the person behind her was Instructor Ho. She didn't look back and it was too late. Just as Instructor Ho was about to attack, Yiqing Luo's body used an extremely strange posture and deftly avoided Instructor Ho's sneak attack. With a leap, she retreated 10 steps away from the two instructors. Yi-Ching Luo panted heavily and wiped the sweat on her forehead. Instructor Ho, it's a little hard for you to do this. Instructor Ho walked slowly to Instructor Chu and both of them looked at Yi-Ching Luo. Student Yi-Ching Luo, this is your request. She was indeed the one who suggested it. But she didn't say that she would accept a sneak attack. The cold sweat on Yi-Ching Luo's back had seeped into her uniform. She opened her mouth and exhaled heavily. Fortunately, her perceptive ability was higher than that of an ordinary person. The moment she sensed the danger, her body instinctively moved and quickly avoided Instructor Ho's sneak attack. Otherwise, if Instructor Ho's attack really fell on her, this challenge could be declared over. Student Yi-Ching Luo, let's see how long you can last this time. Instructor Ho's eyes flashed a meaningful smile. He and Instructor Chu looked at each other, one on the left and one on the right. They bounced up and directly rushed towards Yi-Ching Luo's direction. Yi-Ching Luo's expression was calm, without the slightest fear. She mustered up all her energy and began to deal with the two instructors. The two instructors were old partners and had a tacit understanding with each other. And as instructors, their own abilities were extremely powerful. Yi-Ching Luo's chances of winning against the two of them at the same time was not high. Of course, if the instructors used their profound qi, Yi-Ching Luo wouldn't have any chance at all. The instructors probably knew this too, so both of them used their own abilities and skills to attack Yi-Ching Luo. In the blink of an eye, Yi-Ching Luo had exchanged a few blows with the two instructors. Yi-Ching Luo gradually became strained under the two's attacks. The two instructors didn't show any mercy, they used their most agile skills and strongest physique. Especially the two of them, one attacking and one defending, had a tacit understanding with each other. Yi-Ching Luo couldn't find any chance to attack. Back and forth, Yi-Ching Luo could only barely defend herself from being defeated by the two instructors without any chance to counterattack. But Yi-Ching Luo didn't give up. This was also the reason why she asked the two instructors to go together. It wasn't because she thought that she was strong and impressive that she was intentionally provoking the instructor. Instead, everyone's potential was unleashed under pressure and coercion. Now that she had jumped 4 levels in a row and became a profound practitioner at the 8th level of the mystic profound realm, even if she did not use profound energy, her overall strength would still increase. She challenged the two instructors because she wanted to see how much she had improved after her promotion. Just like now, under the immense pressure of the two instructors, she was able to quickly dodge the instructor's attack. Her brain was also working quickly, analyzing the instructor's attack and then counterattacking. This was very effective in increasing his combat experience. After exchanging more than 10 strokes, Yi-Ching Luo had already been pushed to the edge of the training ground. The students spontaneously opened up a path and watched this thrilling duel. All the students, no matter how much they hated Yi-Ching Luo previously, at this moment, they all started to worship her. The idea of the strong being respected was deeply rooted in their minds. Chapter 670. It was one thing to hate Yi-Ching Luo's character. But it was another thing to worship Yi-Ching Luo's strength. Yi-Ching Luo's back was pressed against the cold wall. She panted heavily, and sweat trickled down her forehead. Her hair, which was wet with sweat, clung to her face. By this time, she had exhausted all her energy. A woman's physical strength was not as good as a man's. Even the two instructors were panting and sweating profusely, not to mention Yi-Ching Luo. The two instructors were closing in on her. Yi-Ching Luo's slender body against the wall slowly tensed up. Her slender fingers curled up one by one and clenched into fists. She stared at the two instructors vigilantly, and when they were 2 steps away from her, she took a deep breath and curled her fingers into a claw shape and pinched Instructor Ho's shoulder. Enough. The two instructors stopped. Yi-Ching Luo's hand paused in mid-air for a while and slowly retracted. Her body, which was leaning against the wall, couldn't hold on any longer and fell softly to the ground. She looked up with sweat dripping down her face. Student Yiqing Luo's performance is extremely outstanding, it seems. Student Yiqing Luo is very good at practical combat. Instructor Chu was panting as he spoke. It could be seen that Instructor Chu was also exhausted by Yiqing Luo. The students covered their mouths and looked at them in astonishment. What kind of ending was this? Who won? Could it be a draw? When this thought flashed through their minds, the students shook their heads and felt that it was impossible. How could Yiqing Luo tie with the two instructors at the same time? You must be joking. What's more, Yiqing Luo was forced to lean against the wall and had no room to fight back. As long as the instructors moved their fingers slightly, Yiqing Luo would definitely lose. Why did the instructors stop? The students were puzzled. Student Yiqing Luo, in view of your excellent performance this time, Instructor Chu and I will apply to the director to let you enter the class of gods. Instructor Ho raised his hand and wiped the sweat off his face. Class of gods. His words stirred up waves. The students suddenly exploded. It was fine if it was the high profound class. Instructor Ho actually said. To let Yiqing Luo enter the class of gods. This news made those students who originally worshipped Yiqing Luo instantly turn from fans to haters. How could they feel the balance in their hearts? How could they be willing? No matter how valiant Yiqing Luo's skills were, it couldn't change the fact that she was merely a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator. The Academy's wooden identity token was absolutely unable to conceal any personal information. Although there were less than 20 students in the class of gods, every single one of them was a super genius among geniuses. Even the lowest profound rank was at the earth profound 4th grade. Not only were their profound heart jades of the highest quality, even cultivating profound energy was a piece of cake for them. The class of gods was a legend in the Academy. It was a legend in the Academy. If it was the high profound class, then forget it. What right did Yiqing Luo have to enter the class of gods? Yiqing Luo was also shocked by Instructor Ho's words. Apply to enter the class of gods. Did the instructors discover her actual profound rank? That's not right. Even if they found out her actual profound rank, it was only mystic profound 8th grade, not enough to enter the class of gods. Cough. Instructor Ho, thank you for your kind intentions, but this is not necessary. Yiqing Luo had no intention to leave her brothers and sisters in the devil class. Compared to the class of gods, she felt that the students in the devil class were more talented. You're not willing to enter the class of gods. Instructor Chu frowned slightly, although you once said that as long as you are willing to work hard, nothing can stop your growth, but the reason why the class of gods became a legend is because of its own reason. Chapter 671. The two instructors continued to lobby. Obviously they had made up their minds to get Yiqing Luo into the god class. The surrounding students were filled with envy. Yiqing Luo was indeed the freshman that the instructor liked. Two instructors. Especially the Academy's most impartial, cold and emotionless instructors, jointly wanted to send Yiqing Luo into the class of gods. What kind of honor was this? Even if Yiqing Luo wasn't able to enter the class of gods, her ability was recognized by these two stern-faced instructors. In the eyes of many students, he was an expert. Just as the students were envious, the two instructors were eagerly lobbying, and Yiqing Luo shook her head in rejection, this extremely peaceful atmosphere. Suddenly, a sharp shout resounded through the entire training ground. It's not fair. This is unfair. The steely green-faced Shengguan Liuli's face twisted malevolently, as he stared at Yiqing Luo with a venomous gaze. She wanted to see Yiqing Luo become a joke. She wanted to see the scene of Yiqing Luo failing in her pretentious act and instead being taught a terrible lesson by the instructors. In the end, how did Yiqing become the strongest in the students' hearts? He's just a piece of trash. Why should he be worshipped by these students? Were they all blind? At this very moment, Shangguan Liuli's heart was completely blinded by her hatred and resentment towards Yiqing Luo. No matter what Yiqing Luo did, in her eyes, there was an ulterior motive. Shangguan Liuli raised her hand and pointed directly at the two instructors. It's you guys. You guys intentionally went easy on her, intentionally helping Yiqing Luo, just to see me make a fool out of myself. You and that slut Yiqing Luo are in cahoots. Her hysteria caused the surrounding students to frown, their faces filled with disgust. This Shangguan Liuli was really pestering Yiqing Luo till death. She couldn't bear to see others doing better than her. Many people began to doubt the way the Shangguan clan taught their children. How did they raise such a brainless fifth miss? Be it the freshmen or the seniors, who in the academy didn't know that these two instructors were famous for being impartial? Who didn't know that they didn't give face to anyone? Purposely going easy. That battle just now wasn't a private challenge. It was an open and above-board battle with so many pairs of eyes. Couldn't they tell if the instructor had done his best? Does that look like he's going easy on me? Intentionally colluding with Yiqing Luo to see her make a fool of herself? Hee. Who did she think she was? If the instructor wanted to see her, Shangguan Liuli, make a fool of herself, he could do it with just one sentence. Why did he have to go through so much trouble to gather the other students to see her make a fool of herself? He thought too highly of himself. Shangguan Liuli, get out of here. Chapter 672. This was a kind of. It was an oppressive feeling that no one could hide from. Shangguan Liuli didn't want to admit that she was afraid of Yiqing Luo. But when she saw Yiqing Luo approaching her without saying a word, her heart became more flustered and confused. The truth that student Shangguan mentioned, is it the truth taught by the Shangguan family, or is it the truth that student Shangguan has an outstanding innate talent and had an epiphany? Yiqing Luo smiled elegantly. Shangguan Liuli was slightly stunned, not understanding the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words. In the blink of an eye, Yiqing Luo was already standing in front of her. 5 steps away. Everything needs evidence. Student Shangguan thinks that Instructor Ho and Instructor Chu went easy on me and wanted to see you make a fool of yourself. Please show me the evidence first. Yiqing Luo's voice became colder. If you can't show me the evidence. Her voice paused, her slender brows raised slightly and looked at Shangguan Liuli with a faint smile. Student Shangguan, I can also complain to the faculty council, to the dean. Shangguan Liuli snorted coldly. Complain? What can you complain about? Anyone with discerning eyes could tell that Yiqing Luo and the instructors were in cahoots. There was no need for any evidence at all. Yiqing Luo smiled and immediately raised her finger. First, as a student, you don't know how to respect your teacher. Second, you made irresponsible remarks, slandered the instructors, slandered the students. Just based on these points, according to the school rules, it is not as simple as recording a major demerit. You. Shangguan Liuli's eyes widened. You're talking nonsense. Whether I am talking nonsense or not, the instructors will testify, the students present will also testify. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers raised slightly, touched her pink lips and smiled enchantingly. You. Shangguan Liuli quickly turned her head and looked at the group of students. The students looked at her with eyes full of mockery, disdain, and annoyance. She then realized that from the beginning to the end, she was the only one who felt that there was a problem between the instructors and Yiqing Luo. These students had treated her as a fool. Student Shangguan, let me reiterate for the last time, this is not the Shangguan residence, nor is it a place for a rich missy like you to throw a tantrum. If you can't get used to the life here, then leave the Heavenly Academy as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she looked at Shangguan Liuli expressionlessly. Opportunities are always given to those who are willing to improve and work hard. If you don't need this opportunity, then give it to others who need it. With that, the corners of her mouth curled into a mocking smile, and she turned to leave. That mocking sneer pierced Shangguan Liuli's eyes. She was the fifth daughter of the Shangguan family. She was the favored fifth miss of the Shangguan family. He had never suffered any grievances. After arriving at the Heavenly Academy, on the first day, Yiqing Luo had been targeting her, causing her to suffer all sorts of grievances. Now, he still dared to laugh at her in front of so many people. Shangguan Liuli's chest was filled with a ball of anger that was constantly surging up. Looking at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, her eyes were filled with fury as she condensed profound qi into her palms and struck towards Yiqing Luo's back. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed, as the sneer on her lips grew thicker, even her body was emitting bursts of chilliness. The surrounding people screamed out, as they kept reminding her. She didn't dodge, as she minded her own business and walked on. Shangguan Liuli's attack instantly closed in on Yiqing Luo's back. A palm strike landed. Bam! Ah! Two loud sounds were heard, only to see a petite figure flying up into the sky, as it crashed heavily onto the ground. A mouthful of blood spurted out from the young lady's mouth. Chapter 673. Instructor Chu, Instructor He, please forgive me. This student's younger sister has been spoiled rotten at home. Her temper is out of control. She has disturbed the two instructors. I apologize to you on behalf of Liuli. This man was none other than the third young master of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Fangyi. Today was the last day of the freshman training. As a senior, Shangguan Fangyi naturally understood what this last day represented. He was instructed by the Shangguan family's patriarch to wake up early and rush to the training ground. His original plan was to discuss the issue of Shangguan Liuli's aptitude with the instructors after her performance on the last day of training, to increase her impression in the eyes of the instructors. After all, they were the Shangguan family. After all, Shangguan Fangyi was a senior in the high profound class. But what he didn't expect was, his sister had been embarrassed to such an extent. He didn't even have the courage to stand up and admit that she was his sister. Not only did she become the worst freshman in the hands of the instructors, she even reprimanded Yiqing Luo for colluding with the instructors after the battle. Shangguan Fangyi had always known that this sister of his was a spoiled little princess. But he had never thought that this spoiled little princess completely did not bring her brain with her. During the holidays, he repeatedly reminded Shangguan Liuli that the most important thing in the Heavenly Academy was to respect the teachers, and no matter what dissatisfaction she had with any masters, she must not show it. Go home and tell her father that they had their own way to avenge her. However, Shangguan Liuli didn't put his words to heart at all. On the last day of training, she had already poked such a big hole. If it wasn't to prevent Shangguan Liuli from making a bigger mistake and affecting the Shangguan family, he would absolutely not stand up and let Shangguan Liuli run her own course. If he didn't let Shangguan Liuli suffer a little, she wouldn't know the dangers outside the family. Towards Shangguan Fangyi's apology, the two instructors still had a gloomy face and didn't say a word. Without the instructor's approval, Shangguan Fangyi could only maintain his bowing posture and wait for the instructors to speak. This was a form of respect to the instructors. One bowed while the other two remained silent. The other students naturally didn't dare to make any sound. The atmosphere of the entire training ground was frozen. Student Shangguan. Seeing that no one spoke, Yiqing Luo opened her mouth to break the deadlock. This stalemate would only be a waste of time. The instructor didn't say a word, so Shangguan Fangyi could only bow his body and look sideways at Yiqing Luo. From student Shangguan's words, student Shangguan's logic must be taught by the Shangguan family. Yiqing Luo shifted the topic to the Shangguan family. The children of the big families were outside. If it was a good thing, he would naturally want to bring his family along so that he could bring glory to his family. But if it would affect their clan and bring shame to their clan, no one would be willing to involve their own clan. Just like now. No matter what, Shangguan Fangyi did not want to have anything to do with the Shangguan family. But Yiqing Luo apparently had no intention to let them off. I'm sure all the freshmen here are very clear that the Heavenly Academy is the best academy in the Nirvana realm and was chosen as the best academy. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a calm and indifferent smile as she first praised the Heavenly Academy before continuing. This is not only because our academy's students have become the top experts of the Nirvana realm under the guidance of the academy, and have made great contributions to the Nirvana realm. It is also because of the good atmosphere of our academy. Chapter 674. The surrounding students nodded in agreement. The other freshmen also nodded in agreement. They had just entered the school on the first day and had already heard of the most important rule, respect for the teachers. Because at least 2/3 of the students who entered the Heavenly Academy were either wealthy or respectable. Among these 2/3, another half of the students were highly talented and capable. These students had always been proud and arrogant, and there were quite a number of bad-tempered students. In order to prevent them from laying their hands on the teachers or disregarding the dignity of the elders, this rule was to forcefully brainwash all the students on the first day. It's impossible that Shangguan Liuli doesn't know this rule. Yiqing Luo said lightly, but Shangguan Liuli reprimanded the instructor in front of everyone for being lenient, reprimanded the instructor for collaborating with me, a freshman, just to make things difficult for her. Can I assume that Shangguan Liuli would have such thoughts and be arrogant and rude to the instructor, is related to the teachings of the Shangguan family? The moment these words were heard, the surrounding students immediately drew in a breath of cold air. Shangguan Fangyi's face was as black as charcoal, incomparably black. He almost couldn't catch his breath. As soon as he came up, he directly beat his own sister to the ground, and even injured her internal organs. This was a clear indication of his attitude towards her. Yiqing Luo was still aggressive. She even wanted to implicate the entire Shangguan family. Shangguan Fangyi had a feeling of resentment as he stared fiercely at Shangguan Liuli. He had long warned Shangguan Liuli not to have any conflict with Yiqing Luo before she was prepared. Shangguan Liuli couldn't see far ahead, but he could see clearly. If he rashly clashed with Yiqing Luo, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Look, now something happened. Shangguan Fangyi's breathing was heavy, as if he was trying hard to suppress the anger in his heart. Have you had enough? Just when everyone was silent, Instructor Ho looked at Yiqing Luo expressionlessly. These words seemed to be accusing Yiqing Luo of being unreasonable. But his tone was extremely calm, without any intention of blaming. Yiqing Luo replied with a smile, shrugged her shoulders and shook her head, but didn't continue to speak. She knew that Instructor Ho was standing on her side and thinking for her sake. The other party was after all from the Shangguan family. He also had his own faction in the academy. There was no need for Yiqing Luo to be so ruthless. Otherwise, if things really got out of hand, it wouldn't be beneficial to either side. Not only was it a waste of time, but it also affected his mood. Yiqing Luo shut her mouth and Instructor Ho looked at Shangguan Fangyi. I will hand this matter over to the director to handle. His words caused Shangguan Fangyi's face to turn green and white. Hand it over to the dean to handle. Wouldn't this cause the Shangguan family to lose face in front of the entire academy? If his father were to find out about this, not only would Shangguan Liuli be punished, even he would not be able to escape punishment. However, Instructor Ho was the one who said that. He didn't even have a chance to refute. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. Shangguan Fangyi lifted his leg and kicked Shangguan Liuli. Hurry up and thank Instructor He. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that her face turned pale. Her delicate body trembled as she lay on the ground, unable to get up. Hearing her brother's words, all of the grievances she had felt immediately surged up. Tears welled up in her eyes as she wailed loudly, "Third brother." It was clearly them who teamed up. Ah! Before he could finish, Shangguan Fangi kicked him again. Shangguan Liuli was in so much pain that she didn't even have the strength to speak. Chapter 675. Shangguan Fangi didn't dare to make a sound after being reprimanded for a long time. He bowed his head and answered yes repeatedly, not daring to show any impatience. Since your brother is here, bring him directly to the faculty council to admit his mistake. Instructor Chu stepped forward and patted Instructor Ho's shoulder, indicating him to speak less. But he himself was not polite to Shangguan Fangi's words. Punish him as you should, student Shangguan should understand the seriousness of the rules. The implication was to warn Shangguan Fangi not to attempt to use his power behind the scenes to absolve Shangguan Liuli. I understand. Shangguan Fangi gritted his teeth, endured the grievance and bent over to pick up Shangguan Liuli who was lying on the ground. Shangguan Liuli struggled and punched Shangguan Fangi. This hammering was not just for fun. Instead, she gave Shangguan Fangi's face a hard slap. She was venting the dissatisfaction in her heart, venting the grievance in her heart. Since young, even her father couldn't bear to hit her. Shangguan Fangi dared to hit her and hurt her internal organs. He even kicked her when she couldn't move due to the pain. With resentment in her heart, Shangguan Liuli's attack was heavy and ruthless. Shangguan Fangi held her in his arms, but he couldn't directly throw her on the ground in front of so many people. She dodged left and right, but still got hit several times. Shangguan Liuli. Stop it. Shangguan Fangi couldn't bear it anymore and scolded in a low voice, haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? How am I embarrassed? I just want fairness. Shangguan Liuli growled resentfully. Shangguan Fangi immediately covered her mouth and apologized to the surrounding as he walked towards the entrance of the training ground. Shangguan Liuli. Just as they were about to walk out of the training ground, Yiqing Luo suddenly spoke and looked at the entrance indifferently. Shangguan Fangi paused and turned his head. Yiqing Luo stood against the light in the training grounds and suddenly took a look. That brilliance had blurred that gorgeous face of hers. The entire training ground also fell into silence because of Yiqing Luo's words. If you are jealous of others' talent, then make yourself stronger. Only use your own suspicions to measure others, can only be the weak. Her clear and cold voice was sonorous and forceful with every syllable. Shangguan Liuli, who was still struggling to get out of Shangguan Fangi's embrace, trembled. She looked over Shangguan Fangi's shoulder at the girl standing against the light. His tear-filled eyes slightly dilated as anger surged up. Trash! What did you say, you, og? Shangguan Liuli's voice was sealed. She struggled but was no match for Shangguan Fangi's strength. Shangguan Fangi hurriedly hugged her, not daring to stay any longer. The training ground finally regained its original atmosphere. The surrounding students' gazes towards Yiqing Luo gradually changed. That's right, if you're jealous of others' talents, why not make yourself stronger? Blindly thinking that others were inferior to them, using their own thoughts to impose on others, to measure others, and then imagining that others were so powerful, there must be something wrong with them. With such thoughts, how could they truly improve? If he wasn't as good as others, then there must be something special about the other party. Even if someone really did something in the dark, to be able to succeed, that meant that the other party was outstanding. Just like what Shangguan Liuli said, if Yiqing Luo and the instructor collaborated, and intentionally let them win. Even if this matter was true, that was Yiqing Luo's ability, wasn't it? Chapter 676. Thinking of this, the students suddenly understood something. Student Yiqing Luo. Instructor Chu looked at Yiqing Luo's gaze with increasing admiration. Regarding the matter of going to class of gods, you should consider it carefully. This is a rare opportunity for you. This new student was completely different from the other freshmen. The more they looked at her, the more they felt that she was a gift from the heavens to the heavenly academy. Brave and resourceful, full of guts and a majestic aura. This kind of girl was much stronger than the guys. If she was placed in class of gods, with some training, she would definitely achieve a hegemony. In this strange world where the strong were respected, as long as she had enough ability, even if she was the queen, so what? No need to consider. Yiqing Luo shook her head. I know you are doing it for my own good, but in the devil class, I am fine. The two instructors saw that she insisted on not listening, looked at each other and frowned. But they also knew that Yiqing Luo had her own reasons for not accepting this opportunity, so they didn't continue to insist. The instructors looked around them. Because of Yiqing Luo, those freshmen who failed did not leave directly. The instructors directly called for the freshmen to line up, said some final words, and let everyone remember what Yiqing Luo said earlier, and then announced the dismissal. Lu Xiaoyu rushed forward and held Yiqing Luo's arm. Her face was full of shock. Qing Luo, when did you become so powerful? Those are instructors, the two most powerful instructors among the freshmen. In this battle, Lu Xiaoyu could be said to be the most worried person. She roughly understood Yiqing Luo's character, and knew that Yiqing Luo would not do things that she was not sure of. But when she heard that Yiqing Luo wanted to challenge two instructors at the same time, she was still stunned. If you also want to have such skills, you can look for me during the school holidays. Yiqing Luo took Lu Xiaoyu and left the training ground together. The large group of students behind, all enviously looked at Yiqing Luo's departing figure. That elegant and refined, extraordinary aura, was much more stunning than the first school's flower. Yiqing Luo is really amazing. How did she do it? Yeah, I'm simply dumbstruck. A low-level profounder who clearly hasn't broken through to the mysterious profound realm actually possesses such formidable skills. It's too unbelievable. To be able to fight evenly with Instructor Chu, and to be able to fight evenly with Instructor He's help, how strong must he be to be able to do this? Right. Don't think that student Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage earlier, but the two instructors obviously didn't gain any advantage. If that battle had continued, it's still uncertain who would win. Even though they still couldn't tell who won this challenge, they still couldn't tell who won. Among the students, there were high profound class students and faculty council students who had suffered losses in Yiqing Luo's hands. No matter what Yiqing Luo did, they were extremely dissatisfied and were unable to develop any fondness for her. Yiqing Luo was indeed a beautiful jade. From the moment she entered the academy, she had been shining and radiating her own brilliance. The more it was like this, the more self-proclaimed geniuses they hated Yiqing Luo. Because in their hearts, the idea that Yiqing Luo's name was equivalent to trash was deeply rooted. They weren't willing to admit that they weren't as good as Yiqing Luo. He was unwilling to admit that he couldn't even compare to a piece of trash. Chapter 677. That's right, what powerful, she's just a waste class student and you guys still treat her like a goddess, envy her and think she's powerful. Aren't you throwing the face of the low profound class? She's just a yellow profound 9th grade waste, so what if she's powerful? Release her profound chi, if she can't even dodge one move, she'll die. These high profound class students kept calling it low profound class and wastrel class. These students from the intermediate and low profound classes were all filled with anger after being insulted. But due to the strength of the high profound class students, they could only clench their fists and swallow this anger. Looking at the low and intermediate class students who did not dare to speak up, the high profound class students revealed a smug sneer. There were also those students from the faculty council, many of them were intermediate class students and they also laughed along with the high profound class students, as if the ones being ridiculed were not their classmates. This feeling made these students feel extremely uncomfortable. They suppressed their anger and turned to the entrance of the training ground. Can't provoke, can't they just hide? At this moment, a deep and low, mellow and cold voice came into everyone's ears. Poor weaklings, you still don't know until now. Sure enough, you can only be the parasites of the high profound class, living a mediocre life relying on the high profound class. This voice was extremely soft and slow. Every word was spat out very clearly. It resounded throughout the entire training ground and even rippled with echoes. Under the awe of this voice, everyone's body stiffened and looked towards the direction of the voice. On the second floor of the training ground, there was a man dressed in a white robe, standing proudly. This man was different from the other masters in the school. They all had the appearance of an old man. But it was an extremely young man. Especially, that man, he had a handsome face, as if he was meticulously sculpted with uncanny craftsmanship. His lines and contours were filled with elegance that made one's heart palpitate. The most eye-catching thing was his pair of peach blossom-like eyes. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, and his thick eyelashes trembled from time to time, faintly revealing a bit of evil charm. When all the female students saw that face, they subconsciously clutched their chests, unable to shift their gazes away. There's actually such a handsome man in this world. Compared to the most handsome man in the school, Si Yen Mu, he was even more handsome. Who is he? He's wearing the uniform of our academy's teacher. How come I don't remember our academy having such a young teacher? Which class of teachers are they teaching? If he were the teacher teaching our class, I would definitely study hard and improve every day. What a handsome teacher. The female students couldn't contain their excitement as they stared at the man with adoration. The female students of the high profound class were not spared as well. They were completely mesmerized by this handsome face and did not notice that he was mocking them. The other male students quickly regained their senses after being shocked by the man's identity. There was even a tinge of jealousy in his eyes. Which class are you from? How come I've never seen you before? The young master chuckled and his peach blossom eyes were filled with a cold gleam. I heard that the Heavenly Academy respects teachers the most and the atmosphere is good. I didn't expect that a student from the high profound class could use such an interrogative tone to question a master. This has really opened my eyes. The few male students' faces turned ashen as they glared at the young teacher. Chapter 678. You're not even a teacher from the high profound class. Who are you? You have to prove that you're a teacher from our school. Otherwise, we will suspect that you're a spy from another school. A few male students patted the shoulders of the female students beside them. Why are you still being smitten? Didn't you hear him mocking us from the high profound class? We're all elites from the high profound class. Not being able to enter the class of gods means that we still have room for improvement. Who are you to say that we're parasites from the high profound class? One after another, the sound of cursing and argument. The training ground that had finally quietened down was once again filled with noise. Following that, a light chuckle could be heard. It was extremely light, but it suppressed the noise. It was the young teacher who was laughing. That smile made the contours of his face look extremely gentle. The curved peach blossom eyes made that face even more exuded a charm that could make one blush. Did I say anything wrong? The young teacher's hands were placed on the railing as he leaned his tall body on it. His posture was indolent and alluring. Students from the high profound class, not only do you have a bad character, you're also as dumb as a pig. Saying that, he sighed and shook his head helplessly. You! How could a proud and arrogant young man tolerate the provocation of a man who was more handsome than him? He immediately rushed towards the direction of the second floor. Then, he heard the man's light and leisurely voice. Who am I? Didn't you see that your instructors have not said a word? The male student stopped in his tracks and immediately turned to look at the two instructors. Only to see the two instructors standing at the side with a cold expression, looking respectfully at the young teacher on the second floor. That's right, respectful. Only then did the students realize that this young teacher's identity might not be as simple as a teacher. From the beginning to the end, the two instructors did not say a word. If this young teacher had really stolen the uniform of the school's teacher, the instructors would have rushed up to him. They were indeed as dumb as a pig. When the male students finally reacted, their anger was extinguished. Teacher Mo, these students are young and impetuous. If they have offended you in any way, I and old he would like to apologize to you. After the training ground became quiet again, Instructor Chu cupped his hands and bowed in the direction of the young master. The young teacher waved his hand. It's fine. I would like to thank these students for their passionate performance, allowing me to understand the atmosphere of the Heavenly Academy. The instructor's expression changed slightly. Their eyes met and he lowered his head. Master Mo, this is not what you see. This is a misunderstanding, I can explain, no need. Mo Zun's lips curled up as he squinted his peach blossom eyes. I don't want to make things difficult for both instructors, but these students from the high profound class really need to be disciplined. If they still have this kind of character after leaving the academy, it won't only be you guys who will be ashamed, but the entire Heavenly Academy. The instructors said in unison, Thank you for your teachings, Supreme Mo. At this moment, on the other side of the second floor, a few elders in white robes walked over quickly. Their foreheads were covered in sweat, but when they saw Senior Mo, their eyes lit up. They bowed respectfully and said, Teacher Mo, the headmaster is waiting for you in the headmaster's office to discuss the matter of entering the class of gods. Please follow me. Class of gods. Supreme Mo raised his eyes and looked at the instructors. Which class is the female student who tied with the both of you in? Instructor Chu was stunned. Devil class. Very well, then devil class it is. Supreme Mo's slender fingers caressed his smooth chin. Chapter 679. After Yi Qing Luo left the training ground, she followed Lu Xiaoyu to the new dormitory. The dormitory which was destroyed by those killers had already been filled up by the academy's people during the 3 days holiday. Perhaps it was because Yi Qing Luo was assassinated in the academy specially prepared all the daily necessities for her as an apology. After Yi Qing Luo left, she called out Shi Ju and sniffed the surroundings, checking once to make sure that there was no problem with these daily necessities before she was assured. She couldn't be blamed for making a fuss over nothing. It was better to be safe than sorry. After all. Towards this director, Yi Qing Luo had always been suspicious. Yi Qing Luo felt that the director definitely had something to do with it. And what was the relationship between the director and that protector, as well as the so-called lord, she still didn't know. Who knew if the director would tamper with the daily necessities prepared for her in order to create a false impression of her sudden death? After Yi Qing Luo took a bath, she changed out of her sweaty uniform and immediately soaked in the water. She drew a clean cloth and wiped her hair. When her gaze landed on the uniform in the water, her hands paused. Somewhere in her heart, there was a violent throbbing. A man dressed in a luxurious purple robe seemed to appear in front of her eyes, squatting in front of the wooden basin, his slender fingers, holding her smelly clothes, rubbing it tirelessly. That noble man, that high and mighty man, was doing the most ordinary thing between a husband and wife, for her. Because it was him, this kind of ordinary, was even more precious. Dmo Xian, Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. As she placed the wet cloth on her shoulder, she leaned against the bed and sat down. Was it? She missed him too much after not seeing him for a few days. Why, there was an extremely strong feeling in her heart, as though he was not far away from her. It couldn't be. Dmo Xian had already been chased to the imperial palace to recuperate. She had said that before his injury was fully healed, he was not allowed to come to the academy to look for her. With such a serious injury, it would take at least half a month for him to recover. At this time, it was impossible for Dmo Xian to appear in the academy. Yi Qing Luo shook her head and suppressed her longing to the bottom of her heart. Grabbing the cloth on her shoulder, she dried her hair while walking towards the window, trying to divert her attention. She didn't realize that the profound phoenix ring on her finger and the flowing red light seemed to have sensed something as her heart raced. The red light seemed to have sensed something and started to wander around the ring. Outside the window was the flat ground where the women's dormitory hung their clothes. Looking at the rows of bamboo poles, they were all neat greenish-white uniforms, with the occasional small objects used by women mixed in. At this moment, there were a few female students hanging their clothes together. Have you guys heard that a student from the High Profound class went missing? Are you talking about that Su Rong from High Profound class 1 who is quite talented? That's right, that's him. This matter has been going on for a few days. I heard that he went missing in our academy. Didn't the academy say that student Su Rong voluntarily applied to leave the academy a few days before the holidays? Su Rong's parents have already come to the academy. They said that it was a holiday and they didn't see their son come home at all. A few female students gathered together. Naturally, it was inevitable to discuss the latest gossip. Yi Qing Luo leaned against the window, her slender brows slightly knitted. She had heard of this Su Rong. Most of the students in the Heavenly Academy were either rich or respectable. Chapter 680. Because of his mediocre family background, in order to repay his parents, he worked extremely hard after he entered the academy. His innate talent was indeed not bad, he was not afraid of hardships and was willing to study hard. In a short span of 4 years, he successfully entered the High Profound Class 1. Because it was an inspirational thing. The other students would mention it from time to time. Yi Qing Luo had also heard about it. Listening to the discussion of these female students, Yi Qing Luo vaguely felt something was amiss. Su Rong had entered the High Profound Class 1 for less than a year. His profound grade was estimated to be around the 4th or 5th grade. She heard that there were many large families who were prepared to buy him over at a high price. Su Rong had yet to decide which force to pledge allegiance to. At this time, how could Su Rong withdraw from the academy? One must know that once he withdrew from the academy, without the halo of a High Profound class student, he would not be that valuable. Yi Qing Luo expressed that she could not understand this point. Speaking of this, I also thought of something. A female student lowered her voice and said mysteriously, "It seems that there are also 2 students in our class who withdrew from the academy. There are also students who withdrew from the intermediate profound class too. Are they crazy? It was not easy to get into the Heavenly Academy. After so many years of hard work, they want to withdraw from the academy. Actually, I don't know if you have heard of the rumors about the Heavenly Academy." Upon hearing the gossip, the few female students put down the clothes in their hands and huddled together. They heard the older female student whispered, "Rumor. Every holiday, there will be 2 or 3 students who withdraw from the academy." The other female students rolled their eyes. Isn't this a very normal thing? Students leaving the academy and new students coming in, this was a common thing in Sikong. This is indeed very normal, but what is not normal is these students who withdrew from the academy, many of their family elders came to the academy to inquire, they did not even return home during the holidays. The few female students dared not to say a word. After those elders came once, they did not come to the academy again. Everyone thought that those students had returned home, but the older female student carefully glanced around, her voice was even lower. "This time when I went home, I heard from my mother that her cousin's child, after he withdrew from the academy half a year ago, until now, they have not returned. That is to say, after these students submitted their withdrawal application, there was no trace of them, in other words, missing." The female students were instantly dumbfounded, their eyes filled with fear. The atmosphere suddenly froze. While talking about this, the female students looked around and found that there was no one else around, giving off an eerie feeling. Frightened, they gathered up their clothes and left together. Yiqing Luo, who was standing by the window, frowned even tighter. She pulled down the cloth that was drying her hair and placed it on the table. She narrowed her eyes and carefully rearranged the conversation of those female students in her mind. For some reason, her mind inexplicably recalled the plan that the dean and the protector mentioned on the second floor of the library pavilion that day. After these students applied to leave the academy, they disappeared without a trace. It was as if they had disappeared from this world. Could it be? Is it related to that so-called plan? This thought instantly made Yiqing Luo's heart thumped. The disappearance of those students was definitely not a coincidence. Moreover, every single one of them had voluntarily applied to leave the academy. Just as she had deduced before, generally speaking, those who were able to enter the intermediate profound class or even the high profound class, as long as they were noticed by other forces and wanted to be taken in as their own, their status would skyrocket. Who would choose to leave the academy at this time? There was definitely something wrong with this. Chapter 681. Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with questions. The disappearance of those students made Yiqing Luo recall the conversation she had heard on the second story of the library pavilion. She remembered that the director had once said something, "Those few people whom his lordship had pointed out, I have already kept them, without leaving any traces." Those few people whom he had pointed out. Was he referring to Su Rong and the rest? If it was really Su Rong and the rest, then the director had created a false impression that the students had withdrawn from the academy, leaving them in the academy, disappearing forever. Just for that so-called his lordship's grand plan. These were only her own guesses. There was no evidence to prove that the students' disappearances were related to the director. Harboring these questions, Yiqing Luo was slightly distracted as she helped Ghost Doctor to change his dressing in the pill refining room. After a few days of recuperation, Ghost Doctor's shoulder wound had already healed. After Yiqing Luo fixed the gauze, she carried the tray and placed it on the wooden table, as she subconsciously stuffed the things on top into the drawer. Ghost Doctor frowned as he glanced sideways at the bandaged wound on his shoulder. "Lass, you didn't even sprinkle any medicinal powder and directly wrapped it up." "Ah." Yiqing Luo suddenly regained her senses as she blinked her eyes, and after some time, she nodded her head in a daze. "I seem to have forgotten to sprinkle some medicinal powder. Let me remove the gauze and bandage it up again." Saying that, she took out the gauze and medicine bottle which she had placed back into the drawer. Ghost Doctor's brows creased even tighter as he impatiently waved his hand. Forget it, I'll let you torment me a few more times and my injury will never recover." Yiqing Luo guiltily drooped her eyelids. "Master." No matter how puzzled she was, when she was helping Ghost Doctor to bandage his wound and learning how to refine pills, she shouldn't be distracted. Right from the start, Ghost Doctor had already told her this point. Before reaching the rank of an alchemy ancestor, one must not look or think while refining pills. One must not be distracted, otherwise, it would easily affect the profound jade heart. Not only would the pill refining fail, it would also cause damage to oneself. "From the moment you came in, I could tell that you were absent-minded." Ghost Doctor's expression was impatient. His hands were clasped together, as he was extremely frustrated. He wanted to find out what Yiqing Luo was thinking about in her head, but was worried that if she said it out, he would be in trouble again. But looking at Yiqing Luo's absent-minded look, his heart felt even more frustrated. The Ghost Doctor slammed the table in annoyance. "You are the disciple of the Ghost Doctor. In the future, when it comes to refining medicine, you will represent the face and reputation of the Ghost Doctor. Focus on learning how to refine medicine. Throw everything else aside." After a moment of silence, he raised his hand and ruffled his messy white hair. "If you really can't solve it, I'll solve it for you." Looking at Ghost Doctor's gloomy expression, obviously feeling that it was troublesome, but he forced himself to help her solve the problem, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh out loud. "What are you laughing at?" Just tell me what you want. Stop wasting time. Yiqing Luo muttered to herself for a moment, but still asked the doubt in her heart directly, Master Ghost Doctor, have you heard of the rumors about the academy? The Ghost Doctor's position in the academy was obviously similar to Gui Yu's. None of them feared the headmaster. In other words, he was a senior figure in this academy. Although the Ghost Doctor was immersed in concocting medicine, and didn't care about the matters of the outside world. However, he had more or less heard the rumors about the academy. Rumors. Ghost Doctor squinted his eyes, as he raised his hand and slapped Yiqing Luo's forehead. The most important thing now is to quickly understand all the knowledge and skills in concocting medicine, then successfully refine a high-grade medicinal pill for me. Ghost Doctor was exasperated that Iron didn't meet his expectations. He was absent-minded for the entire day, just because of some lousy rumor. Chapter 682. Yiqing Luo hugged her head and dodged to the side as she muttered, What I want to ask is the rumor of the missing students, is it true or not? The anger on the Ghost Doctor's face froze. His tightly furrowed white brows gradually gathered together, forming a few wrinkles. Where did you hear that rumor? This expression, this tone, the Ghost Doctor had definitely heard of this rumor. Master Ghost Doctor, does that mean the disappearance of the students is true? The Ghost Doctor berated, whether it's real or fake, this matter has nothing to do with you as a student. Just do your part, you don't have to worry about anything else. The Ghost Doctor's words had indirectly admitted that the students had gone missing. Not only was this matter real, but the Ghost Doctor also seemed to be related to the disappearance of the students. The Ghost Doctor's emotions fluctuated greatly. As a student, she didn't need to care about this matter. Then, what did he mean by taking care of it? To the Ghost Doctor, who hated troublesome matters the most, he would at most hear about such matters, and would definitely not take it to heart. But the Ghost Doctor's attitude was different. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly thumped hard. Ghost Doctor and Director, surely they weren't in cahoots, right? After that, this thought was swiftly swept away from her mind. Since she had become the Ghost Doctor's disciple, she should believe in her own master, and believe in her own foresight. There were many things that she couldn't jump to conclusions before she truly understood them. Seeing Yiqing Luo not speaking for a long time, Ghost Doctor paced back and forth in frustration, as his hands impatiently scratched his hair. That sinister and dark face seemed even more horrifying. Lass, whether this matter is true or not, you shouldn't interfere. This isn't something you can interfere with. You just have to remember that what you need to do now is to improve your overall strength. In addition to the ability to refine medicine, I will also guide you on how to properly guide the profound jade heart and cultivate profound energy. The Ghost Doctor paused for a moment, then sighed meaningfully. Let the teachers of the academy deal with the rumors. If you still think of me as your master, then listen to me and don't do anything rash. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. Obviously, there were too many things involved in the disappearance of the students. Even the Ghost Doctor wasn't confident that she could solve this problem. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and heavily spat out a word, N. Yes, what she needed to do now was to increase her strength. Before she had absolute power, the Ghost Doctor didn't have the confidence to handle things. Even if she wanted to, she didn't have the ability to. Moreover, she had never thought of herself as a kind person. She wouldn't run around for other people's business, and she might even lose her own life. As for why she was so concerned about the disappearance of the students, it was only because she was the one who eavesdropped on the conversation between the headmaster and the strange protector on the second floor of the library. From their words, it was obvious that they were pointing at a new student. From the process of her interaction with the director, Yiqing Luo was almost certain that the freshman whom they were referring to was indeed her. The disappearance of the students was just a precursor. It was very likely that the next student to go missing would be her. Don't think too much, lest you disturb your state of mind. If your state of mind is disturbed, it will be a huge obstacle to your advancement and cultivation of profound energy. Ghost Doctor shook his head as he slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo, patting her shoulder lightly as he changed the topic. Chapter 683. My Profound Jade Heart. Yiqing Luo wasn't surprised that Ghost Doctor knew that her profound jade heart was unstable. To Ghost Doctor, just taking her pulse was enough to find out all the problems in her body. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she placed her hand on her heart and shook her head. My profound jade heart has been dug out. Now this piece of profound jade heart is Xian. Also the Overlord, who helped me to condense this profound jade heart. Dug out? Ghost Doctor's eyes sunk as he speedily locked onto Yiqing Luo's wrist. His expression was solemn as his gaze turned sharp. After checking carefully, Ghost Doctor's white brows creased. No wonder this profound jade heart is so unstable, so this isn't your profound jade heart. He should have guessed it earlier. Yiqing Luo's body had undergone marrow cleansing and her limbs and bones were all in a state of absorbing the heaven and earth's spiritual qi. And her state of mind was much broader and stronger than the average person. Her aptitude was outstanding and her innate talent was heaven-defying. At least her current profound grade was at least Earth profound grade and above. But unfortunately, her current profound grade was only Mystic profound 8th grade. Moreover, in these 3 days of holidays, she had consecutively broken through to profound grade. It didn't match his guess at all. So, the problem was with her profound jade heart. Master Ghost Doctor, I know I'm wrong. I understand what I should do now. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up as she clenched her fists tightly and raised her head. I will not ask any more questions that are beyond my capabilities. Right, what she needed to do now was to make herself stronger. Since she was sure that the director's target was her, all the more she should raise her own ability to prevent herself from falling into the director's evil hands. If she didn't want to be one of the missing students, then she should create her own chance to save herself. Otherwise, no matter how worried or afraid she was, when things really happened to her, she had no way to resist and would be trampled upon, which would only make her even more aggrieved. Lass, when your ability has gained my recognition, I will tell you everything you want to know, including the reason why I got injured. Yiqing Luo nodded her head vigorously. For the following time, Yiqing Luo returned to the repetitive days of refining pills, training, refining pills training. The news of Yiqing Luo challenging the instructors on the last day of the freshman training and ended in a draw against 2 instructors at the same time spread throughout the entire academy. As for those students from the high profound class, they were reported to the principal by the instructors and the principal personally went to the high profound class to hold a meeting for the students. Furthermore, he made an announcement to the entire academy, accusing the high profound class students of not respecting their elders, and punished the entire class to clean the academy grounds for a month. These high profound class students were unconvinced, but they dared not be as arrogant as that day. Occasionally, there were students from other classes who used a worshipping tone to mention about the incident of Yiqing Luo and the instructor becoming friends, as they quietly ridiculed her. In their hearts, most of their thoughts were the same as Shengguan Liuli. Of course, they didn't think that their instructor would go easy on them. They were all certain that the instructors had left some face for Yiqing Luo, hence he let her off just when she was about to admit defeat. This couldn't be considered a challenge at all. The 2 instructors had fought to a draw. These soft complaints and ridicule did not attract the attention of the other students. Because the 2 instructors had openly suggested to the principal that Yiqing Luo could enter the class of gods to learn. This action shocked the entire academy's teachers and students, helping Yiqing Luo to apply to enter the class of gods. That meant to say, these 2 cold-faced instructors had completely recognized Yiqing Luo's ability. Chapter 684. The cold-faced instructor's reputation was not undeserved. They thought that Yi-Ching Luo had the qualifications to enter the class of gods, which meant that they had indeed fought to a draw with Yi-Ching Luo. A freshman, a 15-year-old freshman, a 15-year-old freshman who was in the realm of yellow profound 9th grade. She already had the ability to fight to a draw with the two cold-faced instructors. How scary would she be in the future when she grew up? How could such a heaven-defying genius condescend to stay in the devil class, that waste class? Yi-Ching Luo absolutely had the qualifications to enter the class of gods. All the students were incomparably envious, admiring and exclaiming in admiration towards Yi-Ching Luo. They had already forgotten about it. This Yi-Ching Luo was once the target of their ridicule and abuse. Just as the students were waiting for the director to issue the notice to transfer Yi-Ching Luo to the class of gods, Yi-Ching Luo stood out. She directly rejected the two instructors' good intentions, and tactfully expressed that she wanted to stay in the devil class. Yi-Ching Luo's rejection, without a doubt, set off a storm in the academy. The class of gods. That was the class of gods. Even 100 devil classes could not be compared to the class of gods. That was a godlike existence in the heavenly academy, completely surpassing the faculty council, the elder quarters and the director's existence. The class of gods, how many students yearned for it? Even if it wasn't to enter the class of gods, just to meet the students of the class of gods and speak to them, they felt that this life was enough. Yi-Ching Luo was a student of the devil class. She finally had the chance to enter the class of gods, and she actually rejected it. The entire academy immediately felt that there was something wrong with Yi-Ching Luo's brain. At this moment, some were guessing the reason why Yi-Ching Luo rejected the class of gods, and the topic was brought up to the eve of the academy's holiday. Yi-Ching Luo accepted the challenge from the intermediate profound class 2 class monitor, Xia Yan. Yi-Ching Luo was to lead the devil class to participate in the interclass competition 8 months later. Could it be that this was the reason why Yi-Ching Luo rejected it? The minute this was said, some students immediately jumped out. Impossible. Only an idiot would give up his bright future just for a devil class competition. If it were you, would you be willing to do so? All the students were unable to refute. If it were them, they couldn't be bothered about the competition. If they could enter the class of gods, they would be willing even if it cost them half their lives. Furthermore, to lead the devil class to participate in the interclass competition. No matter how powerful Yi-Ching Luo was, that was only her own matter. How could the trash class have the ability to fight against them? You guys don't believe it either, right? I don't believe it either. How could student Yi-Ching Luo give up the chance to enter the class of gods for a waste class? The interclass competition isn't an individual competition. Those trash and devil class probably won't even be able to pass the first round of preliminaries. Why is goddess Ching Luo so stubborn? There were all kinds of discussions, all kinds of suspicions, among which there were also high profound class students who secretly mocked Yi-Ching Luo, determined that Yi-Ching Luo was deliberately putting on an act. But no one could really guess the reason. Just as the students' blood was boiling and they were constantly looking for the latest gossip, the dean also appeared. No, to be more precise, it was a notice. The announcement was concise and comprehensive. He was basically explaining that the matter of the instructor helping Yi-Ching Luo to enter the class of gods was just a rumor in the academy. And the reason why Yi-Ching Luo refused to enter the class of gods was because this matter was fake. Chapter 685. Misunderstanding. The students were not easy to fool. On the last day of the freshman training, at least 300 to 400 students crowded there to watch the scene. The instructor had personally mentioned the class of gods to Yi-Ching Luo in front of so many students. How could it be fake? But the notice issued by the director insisted that it was fake and a misunderstanding. The students did not believe it and went to ask the instructor. The instructor, who had always been cold and didn't care about anything, actually answered the students' questions. "We are unwilling to throw Yi-Ching Luo's face," so we purposely held back, creating a false impression that we and Yiqing Luo fought to a draw. Instructor Ho snorted coldly, his eyes were as cold as ice. I don't know which student started this rumor, but, if I were to investigate, I would definitely punish the student who slandered the instructor according to the academy's rules. Unwilling to let the students lose their face. Have you ever seen us care about anyone's face? Instructor Chu just sneered and asked. Immediately, the students shook their heads. How could the cold-faced instructor care about the student's face? They would rather believe that the sun rose from the west. That day of the challenge, there were more than 300 students who witnessed it. Whether Instructor Chu and I went easy or not, I believe everyone's eyes are clear. As for why we chose to end the competition at that time. Yiqing Luo was pinned against the wall, Instructor Chu and I attacked together, but it doesn't mean that she would lose. Yiqing Luo is a stubborn student, she will look for any chance to win. That battle, although Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage, but she couldn't beat us, and we couldn't really knock her down. The meaning of the training challenge is not to determine the winner or loser, but to test the student's skills and reaction ability. We naturally chose to end the challenge. After explaining, the two instructors applied for half a month's sick leave and left the school. For a moment, the school was in a flurry of discussion. There were some students who formed a group to follow Yiqing Luo, hoping to stop her and ask her the reason why she refused to enter the class of gods, as well as the interclass competition 8 months later, if devil class really wanted to take part, etc. Yiqing Luo only answered affirmatively that the devil class would definitely participate in the interclass competition. After that, these students couldn't find any trace of Yiqing Luo. Those from the high profound class and faculty council who hated Yiqing Luo naturally started to jump up and down, unwilling to be left out. Some ridiculed Yiqing Luo for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. They would definitely give devil class a heavy blow in the interclass competition. Some ridiculed Yiqing Luo's rejection of the class of gods, which was actually a gimmick planned by her. It was just to make a name for herself in the academy, to make the other students envious of her, to look up to her, to satisfy her vanity. Devil class's students totally did not care about the turmoil in the academy. They were currently locked in the devil class, receiving the cruel and torturous training from Long Yunzhan and the rest. Yiqing Luo would definitely take part in the daily team training, and based on each student's individual physique, she would give pointers on more effective training. Yiqing Luo was not only training these devil class students who were filled with hope, she was also training herself. 7 days later. Yiqing Luo walked out from the secret room and passed the 3 jade bottles in her hands to Ghost Doctor. In the past few days, she had successfully entered the Grandmaster Alchemist level and became a true alchemist. Chapter 686. These were the pills which Ghost Doctor had instructed Yiqing Luo to refine, and it was an assessment for her. 3 chances. 1 bottle of high-grade pills, 2 bottles of middle-grade pills. The failure rate was 0. Ghost Doctor had never seen such a talented alchemist. Even for him, when he was at Yiqing Luo's age, he absolutely had no way to maintain a 100% success rate when refining high-grade pills. Ghost Doctor had really not expected that. He initially felt that tidying up was too troublesome, so he casually caught a young lady who knew how to differentiate medicinal herbs and was interested in this aspect. He had not expected that this young lady actually gave him such a huge surprise. Not only did she have a photographic memory, she could remember every single word and sentence which she had read from books clearly, she also had an extremely strong ability to differentiate. Furthermore, the most important thing was, Yiqing Luo herself was already a master-grade alchemist. This grade, in the field of alchemy which used up a lot of money, energy, and had a low success rate, was absolutely considered as an average standard. There would be quite a number of powerhouses who would fight over her, wanting to recruit her as a target. Although towards the skill and method of alchemy, Yiqing Luo was still extremely unfamiliar. But as long as he gave a slight hint, Yi-Ching Luo would swiftly react, comprehending everything that Ghost Doctor said. In just 7 days, she had advanced to become a grandmaster alchemist. This kind of innate talent. It was so heaven-defying that it was a little scary. Presumably, it wouldn't take long before Yi-Ching Luo would be able to replace his position. Master Ghost Doctor, when do you think I can refine the bone healing pill? Yi-Ching Luo wiped the sweat off her forehead. After refining these 3 bottles of pills, Yi-Ching Luo's entire body felt weak and powerless. Especially that profound jade heart in her chest, which was restlessly stirring. As though the stored energy was slowly disappearing. Yi-Ching Luo was still a master-grade alchemist, and refining pills must be done using her soul consciousness, which required the profound jade heart to nurture the heart flame as the main, with energy as support. She had been refining these 3 pills, which exhausted half of her energy. Her profound jade heart wasn't her own profound jade heart. After refining the pills, it caused the profound jade heart to be exhausted. Ghost Doctor had said it was a pity more than once. For a pill-refining genius like Yi-Ching Luo, if she used her original profound jade heart, the purity of her heart flame would be even higher and the pill she refined would be even purer. Ghost Doctor supported Yi-Ching Luo's arm with one hand as he threw her towards the soft couch by the side. Just based on your current state and you still want to refine the bone healing pill? Let's first refine this profound jade heart's heart flame to 100% purity. Yi-Ching Luo held her forehead as she sighed, lying limply on the soft mattress, refusing to get up, nor did she want to move. This feeling of the profound heart jade losing its strength was really unpleasant. This was not the first time she had encountered such a situation. Without Dmo Xian around, she had become a salted fish. There's no need to panic for the bone healing pill. The Ghost Doctor placed the 3 bottles on the porcelain in the middle of the table. You only have these 2 main herbs. If you fail, you'll have to think of another way to find rare herbs like the mysterious ice immortal root and Yin infant grass. In other words, if Yi-Ching Luo wanted to restore Ziling's leg, she must ensure a 100% success rate. Yi-Ching Luo's long curly eyes quivered. She couldn't guarantee it. No one was able to guarantee anything about refining pills. Take a rest before returning to devil class. Come back tomorrow to take the next assessment. Throwing this sentence, the Ghost Doctor returned to the secret room. Chapter 687. After bidding farewell to Ghost Doctor, Yi-Ching Luo had just walked down the stairs to the 2nd story when she saw Mo Yuing expressionlessly standing by the wall. She was dressed in a pink furry dress, which was extremely eye-catching. The students who were passing by, as well as those who were studying seriously or reading books, all couldn't help but congregated their gazes over Mo Yuing. That puppet-like, expressionless waist. She was also a student of devil class. Quite a number of students recognized Mo Yuing, but they didn't dare to humiliate her like usual. Because Yi-Ching Luo was also a student of devil class. Humiliating Mo Yuing in front of Yi-Ching Luo was also humiliating her. The current Yi-Ching Luo was a celebrity in the academy. Seeing Yi-Ching Luo coming out, Mo Yuing slowly walked up. Her round lowly eyes were wide open, but there wasn't any focus. Class monitor asked you to return to devil class. He has something to announce. Announce something? Why hadn't she heard of this matter? Every time devil class needed to decide on something, wouldn't Long Yun Zhan discuss with her before deciding? I've waited for you for a long time, the class should have started. Mo Yuing tilted her head, using her rigid, emotionless voice to say every word. Yi-Ching Luo nodded. The 2 of them speedily headed towards the direction of devil class. There wasn't a single figure in the training grounds. Yi-Ching Luo frowned, as she sped towards the classroom. Before she got close to the classroom's entrance, she heard a deep and mellow voice coming from inside. How you usually are, will be how you will be in future, there's no need to cooperate with my rhythm. This voice, sounded extremely unfamiliar. Absolutely not any student from Devil class. But this tone, why did it sound a little familiar? While speaking, there was a slight smile at the end, which made her heart suddenly tremble fiercely. That voice continued, "What I want to see is the truest devil class, the devil class that doesn't wear the skin of waste." Teacher. Long Yun Zhan's cold voice cut off that unfamiliar voice. Our devil class itself is. Someone is skipping class. Not waiting for Long Yun Zhan to finish his words, that voice continued with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Long Yun Zhan's words were also cut off, as he couldn't continue the conversation. Yiqing Luo could tell that Long Yun Zhan was getting impatient and couldn't hold on any longer. The people who skipped class, that person was referring to was probably her and Mo Yuing. There was actually an outsider who came to the devil class. Long Yun Zhan and the rest were unable to stop him. From this, it could be seen that this person was not only of noble status, but also extremely powerful. Yiqing Luo walked over quickly and pushed open the wooden door of the classroom. Paw! The wooden door hit the wall, making a loud noise. The voices in the classroom stopped abruptly. Yiqing Luo stood at the door and saw a young man dressed in a white robe standing on the high platform with both hands propped up on Master Ku's table. His figure was tall and slender with smooth lines. His golden ratio figure was indeed very attractive. The man's side profile was handsome, and his posture was languid but elegant. Upon hearing the commotion, he turned his gaze over. That handsome face, without any concealment, crashed into Yiqing Luo's pupils. Her eyebrows were full, and the smile at the corner of her mouth was peerless. His entire body exuded an extremely clean and elegant aura. What attracted Yiqing Luo the most was that pair of peach blossom-filled eyes. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, slightly curving upwards, giving off an extremely demonic charm, extremely alluring. Chapter 688. Las Luo, come over quickly, this is Supreme Mo, he will be teaching in the devil class for the next period of time. Gue Yu waved at Yiqing Luo with a face full of smiles. Apparently, he was extremely happy that this man called Supreme Mo was going to teach in the devil class. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she hadn't heard what Gue Yu said as she stood rooted to the ground, her eyes widened as she stared at Supreme Mo without blinking. Luo Las. Gue Yu had already walked over and slapped her on the head. Hurry up and greet him. Mo. Supreme Mo. Yiqing Luo spat out a few words in a daze. Supreme Mo's peach blossom eyes rose as it became increasingly long and narrow, that flowing light was filled with a captivating charm. Looking at the dumbstruck Yiqing Luo who was so stunned that she couldn't say a word, his rosy lips curled into a slight arc. Student Yiqing Luo, I've heard of your name, in future. Please take care of me. The last few words were spat out one by one from his mouth. Every word he spat out was like a heavy knock on her heart. Qing Luo, don't tell me. You've been smitten by Supreme Mo. Tong Zi Qing's cold and beautiful eyes glanced at Yiqing Luo as she teased. This is not like you. The other students nodded in agreement. Look, there Madame Qing Luo had an expression of seeing a living ghost as she stood there in a daze, staring at Supreme Mo without blinking. Supreme Mo was indeed a rare good-looking man. But the overlord's looks were definitely on a higher level. Their Madame Qing Luo was actually smitten by another man to the extent that she was head over heels for him. This was too illogical. Cough. Cough cough. Hearing the students teasing, Yiqing Luo's throat was blocked as she started coughing violently. Not knowing when Supreme Mo had arrived by her side. His slender fair hand gently rested on Yiqing Luo's shoulder as he smiled warmly. Student Yiqing Luo, are you feeling unwell? Yiqing Luo's petite body shuddered as she wanted to shrink back. But the strength of that big palm seemed to be extremely light, but it held her tightly in his palm. The other students were in an uproar when they saw this scene. Why did Mo Supreme and Yiqing Luo interact so strangely and yet so harmonious? It was as if they had known each other for a long time. However, the conversation between the two of them was clearly the first time they had met. Teacher Supreme Mo, Long Yun Zhan frowned as his azure blue eyes swept past revered Mo's hand, which was placed on Yiqing Luo's shoulder, as his brows creased even tighter. He walked over expressionlessly as he stretched out his hand and grabbed Yiqing Luo's arm. Devil class's students are all here. Whatever you have to say, you can say it directly. But unexpectedly, just as Long Yun Zhan's hand was about to grab Yiqing Luo's arm, he felt a gust of cool breeze brushing past his palm. Long Yun Zhan's brows furrowed as he glanced sideways. Yiqing Luo was already in Senior Mo's arms, and Senior Mo's hand was placed on Yiqing Luo's slender waist as his 5 fingers clasped tightly. Bang! The students of Devil class, how would they still have the mood to watch the show? His boss was being disrespected by another man in front of him. How could he tolerate this? All of a sudden, the students slammed the table and stood up, their expressions ugly. I don't care what teacher you are, let go of Madam Qing Luo. Let go of your hand. Otherwise don't blame me for breaking your hand. As the students were saying that, they had already flocked towards the direction of the table. Chapter 689. Master Guiyu, he is molesting Madam Qing Luo. The students howled furiously as their eyes were bloodshot. Supreme Mo was still hugging Yiqing Luo as he stood on the stage with a calm expression and a smile on his lips, as though his action was an extremely normal thing. Whereas Yiqing Luo was nestled in his arms, not struggling at all, nor did she say a single word. Long Yun Zhan exchanged glances as his heart was filled with hesitation. This Supreme Mo was extremely powerful. Even old man Guiyu seemed to be extremely respectful towards Supreme Mo. To be able to make the old urchin old man Guiyu respect him, how powerful was he? Yiqing Luo's performance was also very strange. She seemed to be shocked as her gaze was glued onto Supreme Mo's face. This indeed wasn't the usual Yiqing Luo. Could it be that this Supreme Mo and Yiqing Luo actually knew each other? From each other's eyes, the few of them could tell that they had the same thoughts. Long Yun Zhan stood up and was about to stop those agitated students when he was interrupted by Ghost Doctor. Do you know who he is? Do you know what he is here for? A bunch of brats, can't you see that last Luo isn't resisting at all? Ghost Doctor stretched out his hand to stop those students as he turned his body and pointed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The students paused for a moment before they finally reacted. That's right. Yiqing Luo totally didn't resist at all. She obediently shrank into Supreme Mo's arms. If it was during normal times, other men who wanted to flirt with Yiqing Luo would absolutely be beaten up by her. Why didn't Yiqing Luo struggle? Not resisting. Could it be that Yiqing Luo had really been bewitched by Supreme Mo? Then, what about the Overlord? Seeing the students calming down, old man Guiyu heaved a sigh of relief as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. Little brats, stop it, Supreme Mo concerns your future. Yiqing Luo regained her senses from old man Guiyu's roars. She raised her eyes and glanced at the man who was hugging her tightly before looking at old man Guiyu. Teacher Guiyu, he concerns our future. Old man Guiyu gave a cold humph as his white beard fluttered. The academy's main courtyard, you should have heard of it. The students nodded their heads in unison. The academy headquarters was equivalent to the mercenary guild of the mercenary group, and also equivalent to the current education bureau. If they wanted to establish an academy, or formulate some internal rules, fees, and other issues, as long as it was something related to the academy, they would have to go to the academy's headquarters to apply for it. is the evaluator sent by the Heavenly Academy, Supreme Mo. The moment Old Man Guiyu finished his sentence, all the students' gazes converged in Senior Mo's direction. They had never expected that the General Hospital would have such a young evaluator. One had to know that one had to pay a huge price to become an evaluator of the headquarters. It wasn't just about being strong enough. Furthermore, he had to maintain a high moral character and be able to convince others. Anyone who mentioned his name would give him a thumbs up and praise him endlessly. Generally speaking, to be able to reach this level in the field of education, one should have been in this field for at least a few decades. Especially in such a serious circle, young people could not be a deterrent at all. Judges. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes in a daze. Towards the Academy's specific matters, her understanding was rather vague. The students took a careful look at Supreme Mo and immediately took turns to explain about the evaluators. As Yiqing Luo listened, she roughly understood about the evaluators. Chapter 690. Every year, the Academy would conduct a selection for the best Academy, to show the main Academy's commendation to the Academy. And before the selection, the main Academy would send 1 or 2 evaluators to enter the Academy to understand the overall situation. This evaluator, in order to fully understand the Academy's situation, would usually stay in the Academy for 3 to 5 months. And in these few months, the evaluator could choose to teach in one of the classes. Of course, he could also choose to sit in on the class. Generally, the Academy would arrange the evaluator to conduct the investigation in the middle and upper classes. For example, High Profound Class 2, Intermediate Profound Class 2 and such classes. After all, if the evaluator went to the class of gods to teach, no matter how good the performance was, it was a matter of course. If the evaluator went to the low profound class to teach, those teachers' qualifications were not that good, and the standard of the teachers were lower than the intermediate and high profound classes. It was easy to make a joke out of the evaluator. What made Yiqing Luo surprised was, why would the Academy agree to let the evaluator teach in Devil class? Devil class was a waste class in front of the entire Academy's teachers and students. The trash students in the trash class, as well as the crazy teacher Guiyu. Wasn't the evaluator afraid of dragging down the Heavenly Academy's meticulously created Gao-Dashan image? Las Luo, I'm doing this for you. This Supreme Mo will be staying in Devil class to teach for the next few months, you understand. Guiyu winked his eyes. If it wasn't for the evaluator's identity, how could Guiyu, who didn't even care about the director, respect a little brat who was many generations younger than him? Yiqing Luo naturally understood that Guiyu's respect towards Supreme Mo was all for Devil class. The reason why he agreed to the interclass competition 8 months later was to let Devil class shine in that competition. To let these youngsters who had held back for several years, or even more than 10 years, stand in the light and let their brilliance shine. If Supreme Mo was willing to help Devil class to Devil class, it was definitely a qualitative leap. But, why, of all people, it had to be him. The lingering sandalwood fragrance and the man's familiar warmth enveloped her. Yiqing Luo was rather helpless. Even though this man had changed his face, she could still recognize him at one glance. Supreme Mo, Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo was very curious, how did Dmo Xian conceal his identity, sneak into the headquarters and even become an evaluator? This is late student Yiqing Luo. Above her head, came the man's leisurely and clear praise, mixed with a trace of faint smile. The Heavenly Academy has always been known for its good atmosphere. Students coming to the Heavenly Academy is not only to enhance their strength, but also to learn the best knowledge and the principles of life. He paused for a moment. It's the first day I came to the Devil class and I already met a student who was late. This is the atmosphere of the Heavenly Academy. Yiqing Luo stared furiously at him. Supreme Mo. Dmo Xian's long and narrow eyelids rose slightly as he released Yiqing Luo's waist and said to himself, "This late student Yiqing Luo, in order to express my attitude as a teacher of the devil class. I must punish you, you can't blame me." Punishment. Emperor. Yiqing Luo almost shouted out his name but quickly reacted as she pursed her lips and gritted her teeth. Mo. Supreme. Husband. Son. Dmo Xian drooped his eyelids, the smile on his face was gentle like the wind, but Yiqing Luo could clearly see the teasing interest in his eyes. Yiqing Luo was so angry that she secretly clenched her teeth, but she couldn't retaliate and teach him a lesson in public. That scoundrel Dmo Xian silently came to the Heavenly Academy, and the minute they met, he was already thinking of ways to tease her. The students below were infected by his words. Their expressions of watching the show gradually turned serious. Yiqing Luo stood by the side of the counter and was very close to him. She could clearly see that when he was speaking, that pair of peach blossom eyes was flowing with a serious luster. Dmo Xian had disguised himself as Supreme Mo and came to the academy, pretending to be meeting her for the first time in devil class. He must have his reasons. Yiqing Luo would not intentionally expose him. It was just that he was filled with curiosity, unable to guess Dmo Xian's motive for doing so. It was absolutely not because he wanted to stay by her side, so he intentionally disguised himself as Supreme Mo and came to devil class. Just as Yiqing Luo was staring at Dmo Xian, secretly guessing, she heard the man's clear voice ringing, "Student Yiqing Luo who is late, come over and distribute these basic training books to every student." Yiqing Luo regained her senses as her vision followed Dmo Xian's finger and saw that on the counter, there was a stack of green books. Chapter 692. Ha! Late student Yiqing Luo, I will misunderstand if you look at me affectionately like that. Dmo Xian squinted his peach blossom eyes and immediately retreated behind old man Guiyu. That won't do, I'm a master and you're a student. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. Be a master, then be a good master. Couldn't you have a little bit of a master's solemnity? Couldn't you have a little bit of a master's immortal air? The other students were shocked. One by one, they stared at the two of them on the counter in bewilderment. Why did they suddenly feel that this combination looked so harmonious? Why did they feel that the master and their own boss's eyes met each other and just a few simple sentences, they could feel the blinding light? The students were stunned for a long time and suddenly slapped their own heads hard. Pft, pft, pft. What harmony! What blinding light! Their own boss and the overlord were a pair. This unknown evaluator was just a passerby. How could he be compared to the overlord? Yiqing Luo merely shot a glance, and other than Long Yunzhan and the other students' actions were the same, patting their heads at the same frequency, and she knew what they were thinking about in their minds. The corner of her mouth twitched even more. Damn it! What happened to the feudal thinking of the ancient people? She knelt down in front of this gossiping and imagination ability. Yiqing Luo stared at Dmo Xian resentfully and strode over to pick up a stack of basic training books. Yes, master, I'll distribute them to the other students now. When she passed by Dmo Xian, Yiqing Luo's petite body suddenly stiffened. The man with the stinky face, actually secretly pinched her waist in a blind spot where no one could see. Yiqing Luo turned her head and stared at him, only to see that he was still smiling warmly and continued to chat with the students. She endured. Wait and see how she would teach him a lesson in private. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth and distributed the books to the students one by one. Everyone looked at Yiqing Luo with an expression of wanting to ask but not daring to. Yiqing Luo had an urge to give Dmo Xian a good beating. Finally, under the baptism of the whole class, all the basic books were distributed and Yiqing Luo immediately returned to the counter. Dmo Xian took out a stack of white paper and wrote a few simple words on it, which seemed to be something like a questionnaire. His shimmering peach blossom eyes looked at Yiqing Luo quietly. Dmo Xian stretched out his hand and pointed, "Student Yiqing Luo who is late, and these student questionnaires, distribute them to the class." Since they were going to hand out the questionnaire, why didn't they take it out earlier and let her hand out the foundational books as well? Was he doing it on purpose? Yiqing Luo suppressed her anger as she strode over and grabbed the questionnaire on the counter, not forgetting to turn his head to glare fiercely at Dmo Xian as he gave a cold snort. With this turn of her head, Yiqing Luo's entire body directly crashed into Dmo Xian's chest. She was filled with anger, so her actions were naturally hurried and impatient. It was as if he had hit a wall. The survey forms in his hands flew to the ground. Qing Luo. Long Yunzhan couldn't sit still as he immediately stood up, wanting to rush up to help Yiqing Luo. However, he was stopped by a hand. It was Qiao Jin. Long Yunzhan frowned as his azure blue eyes stirred a whirlpool. But he saw Qiao Jin slowly shaking his head as his peripheral vision shot towards Yiqing Luo's direction and his dark eyes met Long Yunzhan's eyes. The other students couldn't tell. How could they possibly not be able to tell? Did Yiqing Luo look like the kind of person who allowed herself to be trampled upon, to allow others to disrespect her, yet she was willing to endure it? Don't think that Yiqing Luo's expression was sullen, bearing a look of enduring silently. But that pair of quick-witted eyes, when it congealed towards Supreme Mo, would overflow with a faint tender feeling. Chapter 693. Yiqing Luo continued to bear with it. Squatting down, she picked up the questionnaire on the ground. At the same time, Dmo Xian also squatted down. Both of them silently picked up the questionnaire on the ground. The entire classroom fell into a strange silence. The students didn't know if it was because Long Yunzhan and the rest didn't move, so they didn't move, or were stunned by Yiqing Luo and Master Mo Xian's interaction. No one went up to help, all of them stood on the spot, looking at them in a daze. Yiqing Luo scolded Dmo Xian for being childish in her heart, but there was a faint sweet feeling lingering in her heart. Just as she was picking up the questionnaire, a large palm suddenly covered the back of her hand. There were thin calluses on the fingertips of her broad and thick palms, which were faintly stirring her palms. Yiqing Luo's little hand trembled, as she wanted to retract it, but it was held tightly by the man's fingers. "Let go." Yiqing Luo suppressed her voice, as she stretched out her other hand, to pry Dmo Xian's hand away. He didn't let go, only curling his thin lips, as his peach blossom eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo with a smile yet not a smile. Following that, he leaned over, and placed the questionnaire which he had picked up into Yiqing Luo's arms. His fingers faintly brushed past her body. When he leaned over, Dmo Xian's sandalwood fragrance, which made one's heart palpitate, and that strong man's breath, sprayed onto her body. Yiqing Luo turned her head away, as her cheeks started to heat up. Dmo Xian's smile deepened, as he slowly moved his body away. Before he moved away, he used their voices, as he laughed softly, "Lil Luo, this kind of secret love, is it exciting?" Yiqing Luo's cheeks instantly flushed red. What secret love? What was exciting? This man was really childish to the max. Yiqing Luo held the questionnaire tightly, as she abruptly stood up and stared at Dmo Xian resentfully, as she carried the questionnaire and walked towards the direction of the students. She was overbearing, as she held a questionnaire, as she slammed her palm heavily on the table. The students were stunned by her imposing manner, so how would they dare to ask a single word? After she finished distributing the questionnaire, Yiqing Luo didn't even take a look at Dmo Xian as she swung her hand and left the classroom, heading directly to the class committee room. After Yiqing Luo left, the students in the classroom, how could they still put their thoughts on the basic training books and the survey forms, as they looked at each other in dismay? They really couldn't understand what was the relationship between their boss and supreme teacher. Mo Xian's rosy lips curled upwards, until Yi-Ching Luo's figure disappeared from his sight. He turned his head around, facing the students below. At this moment, his expression became extremely serious. It doesn't matter if it's the class of gods or the class of devils. To me, all students are equal. I know that you are preparing to participate in the interclass competition in 8 months. That is the only chance for you to wash away the label of trash. In that competition, the Academy headquarters will also send a few elders to the Heavenly Academy to observe. That is also a chance for you to show off your skills. Pausing for a moment, Mo Xian's serene black eyes swept past all the students in front of him. His tone became solemn once again. So, I will teach in your class, and in the interclass competition 8 months later, I will do my best to help you, and I hope that all the students can cooperate. The students' vision all turned towards Long Yunjian. Towards this teacher who seemed to be familiar with Madame Qing Luo, they maintained a wait-and-see attitude. Long Yunjian nodded expressionlessly, as his expression remained cold and aloof. But, if one looked carefully, they could still discover. Chapter 694. Mo Xian narrowed his eyes, as he could naturally see Long Yunjian's displeasure. He also understood the reason why Long Yunjian didn't like him. He did not mind and clapped his hands. Have a good rest today. From tomorrow onwards, I will work with old man Guiyu to officially train you. After dismissing the students, Mo Xian walked out of the classroom. He wiped away the warm smile in his eyes and looked around the corridor outside the school. Just as he was about to take a step forward, a figure blocked his way. It's you. Qiao Jin crossed his arms and leaned against the wooden door of the academy. He narrowed his eyes as he sized up Mo Xian. Although he suspected that this Supreme Master Mo could possibly be Mo Xian. But if he didn't personally admit it, Qiao Jin would feel that something was wrong. Because of this, he stopped Mo Xian. Mo Xian raised his brows. Student Qiao Jin, what do you think? Qiao Jin shook his head, his expression serious. I think it's you. If not, please stay away from Qing Luo in future. Why? Qiao Jin stared at Mo Xian as his gaze congealed, because she belongs to someone else. Ha! Ha ha ha! When Mo Xian heard that, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. That face that was as handsome as an evil god smiled even more devilishly, shocking everyone. He stretched out his hand and lightly patted Qiao Jin's shoulder. Then, he walked past Qiao Jin and headed straight for the class committee room. Qiao Jin stared at his back for a long time. He retracted his gaze and glanced sideways at his shoulder that had been patted. As expected, it was him. What are you looking at? Let's go. Suddenly, a hand grabbed a strand of Qiao Jin's ink-black hair and tugged it fiercely. What should be confirmed has already been confirmed. The couple has some private things to talk about. Are you going to join in the fun? Qiao Jin felt the pain and he grabbed the slender wrist of the woman behind him. Yan Xiao Yi, if you want to talk then talk, don't be touchy. Touch you? Bah. I don't want to throw up last night's dinner. Yan Xiao Yi flung his hand away and scoffed. What are you still standing there for? The class monitor is still waiting for you. With that, he turned around and entered the classroom. Qiao Jin opened his eyes wide, displeasure written all over his face. Halt. Tell me clearly, how did I make you want to vomit? We've been classmates for a few years, and now you're saying I'm ugly. Hey! Stop right there. Yi-Ching Luo was sitting on the soft chair, pondering over the purpose of Mo Xian's disguise to enter the Heavenly Academy. Suddenly, his ears twitched. He heard the door of the class committee room being pushed open. A familiar scent wafted into his nose. Yiqing Luo snorted softly and turned her head away. Little Luo, Dmo Xian strode over, and by the time he stood in front of Yiqing Luo, his body fell down lazily. Yiqing Luo was just about to get up and evade. The man seemed to know what she was going to do and quickly grabbed her wrist. The familiar scent of sandalwood instantly enveloped her. The man's burning hot chest was tightly pressed against her delicate body. Yiqing Luo's heartbeat inexplicably accelerated. Her body temperature seemed to be rising because of the man's embrace. Yiqing Luo's delicate body trembled slightly as she stretched out her hand to push him away. Dmo Xian had already pressed her down on the soft chair, his arms tightly wrapped around her delicate body. Yiqing Luo's entire body was almost wrapped up by him. "Don't move, let me hug you properly." The deep and husky voice was filled with a seductive meaning, as it slowly seeped into Yiqing Luo's eardrums, into her heart. The rich sandalwood scent mixed with the man's scent. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered, as the luster in her eyes gradually couldn't be gathered, as she appeared slightly tipsy. "Little Luo, I missed you." Chapter 695. It wasn't the first time she heard him saying that he missed her. But every single time, it made her heart beat faster and her cheeks flushed red. This man always used the simplest way to touch her heart. The anger in her heart because of those childish things that Dmo Xian had done in the academy had long disappeared. But her mouth couldn't help but grumble as she raised her fist and pounded it on his chest. "Miss me and still bully me. Earlier in the academy, you put on your master's bad character quite excitedly." But just as this fist was about to land on him, Yiqing Luo stopped. She opened her fingers and directly tore Dmo Xian's robe. "How's your injury?" Master's robe was rather loose, and with just a few light tugs, a large patch of fair skin was revealed. The injuries earlier had already healed and there wasn't even a scar. Yiqing Luo had just heaved a sigh of relief, and before she could say anything, her wrist was suddenly held tightly by Dmo Xian's large palm. She swung her hand but was unable to break free. Raising her eyes to look at Dmo Xian, she met with a pair of eyes which seemed to be flickering with fire. His eyes were spitting fire. The flame wrapped around her, as though it was going to burn her everything. That handsome face, which was like a god, profound and elegant, had an extremely grave expression. Yiqing Luo was stunned by the fire in his eyes, and seeing his serious expression, her body gradually stiffened. "Lil Luo, He opened his mouth and murmured softly. Following that, he lowered his eyes and stared at his half-opened robe before raising his eyes to look at her. Yiqing Luo's face flushed bright red. She pursed her pink lips and stammered, I didn't." Repeatedly forcefully tearing my clothes, "Lil Luo, can't wait anymore." Dmo Xian's fingers circled her slender wrist as he gave an extremely pure smile. But the words he said made Yiqing Luo's ears flushed red, unable to refute. "Lil Luo, don't you know that this kind of action and behavior is sending an invitation to a man?" Dmo Xian loved the way her face turned red. The more he teased her, the more he wanted to tease her. Seeing her blush and bashful because of his words, his heart was filled with satisfaction. "If you dare to tear my clothes again, don't blame me for retaliating." That demonic voice lingered around her ears, causing Yiqing Luo's body to tremble as though she was struck by lightning. In his mind, he subconsciously imagined the scene of Dmo Xian's counterattack. Instantly, her cheeks flushed red as she buried her head into Dmo Xian's arms. It's over. She, a 21st-century human, was actually teased by an ancient to the point that her face turned red and she was speechless. Wasn't it just driving a car? Her car racing skills were also top-notch. That was what he thought in his heart. But when he raised his head and saw Dmo Xian's smiling peach blossom eyes, the lofty sentiments that he had brewed up with great difficulty were extinguished in an instant. Dmo Xian couldn't help but chuckle, his chest trembling slightly. It shook Yi-Ching Luo, who was leaning on him, as that electric shock feeling grew stronger. His slender fingers stroked her hair. "These days, I've been thinking about you all the time." His other arm, the arm which was locked around Yi-Ching Luo's waist, tightened. His strength was extremely strong, as though he wanted to knead her into his bones and blood. Yi-Ching Luo was strangled till she couldn't breathe properly, as her nostrils were filled with the sandalwood scent from his body. She shut her eyes, listening to the strong and powerful heartbeat ringing by the side of her ears. Beat by beat, it crashed against her eardrums, striking right into her heart. Dmo Xian wasn't a man who liked to say sweet nothings. He was more inclined to use his actions, to express his thoughts. He said it once, thinking of her. And said it for the second time. As long as there was one student left in a certain class, that class would not be completely eliminated. Although it was difficult for Yi-Ching Luo to fight against four hands. But, if they were to lose to devil class once, how embarrassing would that be? Yi-Ching Luo represented the devil class. No matter how the students asked, the cold-faced instructors maintained their cold and aloof attitude. As for the main characters of the students' discussion, no one had seen any trace of them in the past half a month. As a result, while the students were pondering if Yi-Ching Luo had gone missing, Yi-Ching Luo was singled out by the director and summoned to the director's office. Yi-Ching Luo had just returned to the dormitory from the training ground when she saw Yun Xiang and Lu Shuiyu chatting in the dormitory hall. On seeing Yi-Ching Luo, Yun Xiang stood up and smiled amiably. "Student Yi-Ching Luo, the director invites you to the director's office." Yi-Ching Luo nodded her head slightly, as she untied her sweaty hair and returned to her own room, directly leaving Yun Xiang hanging by one side. "You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.